Hi, I'm Kat
Hi.
from VDay board, and we'll just have a little chat about Vagina Monologues and stuff. So you want to introduce yourselves to start this off?
My name is Selena. I've been with the Vagina Monologues for I'll imagine in the back of my head, about 5 years. I performed the last 3 years, and prior to that, I stage managed 2 years prior to that. So it basically went from viewer to backstage to to stage to on stage. So,
and which monologues have you done?
Over the years, I did Coochie Snorcher was the first one. And the second year I did Because He Liked to Look at It. And the third year I was there in the room.
Cool.
I'm Liz, and this is my third year participating in some kind of way with VDay. So the last 2 years that we were actually able to have the show, I was in it. And my first monologue was actually, I copied Selena, unintentionally, I swear. My first monologue was Coochie Snorcher, and then last year was Because He Liked to Look at It.
So what drew you to the monologues?
What drew me to the monologues was I kept meaning to audition a bunch of times, but I'm a really big procrastinator and I kept not doing it. And then I moved out of the province for 3 years. But then coming back, I was like, okay, I'm going to do it this time.
Guess what drew me to the monologues originally? It was more so I years ago, I watched the Eve Ensler's Vagina Monologues. She performed it on HBO at one point. So I watched that stage production on TV. So I knew predominantly what the monologues were. And then kind of going around on campus, seeing the flyers for Vagina Monologues. It's like, I really should go see that. And then I got into the Diploma of Performance Communications Media program, where I met Sandra and a couple other ladies who I've met throughout the years who also performed in it. And then I went to see them, and Sandra made me cry, as she does. And and it was just one of those things where I saw my friends out of their element a little bit. And I guess from there, Sandra and I worked on 8 the Play. I think, Kathryn, you might have been a part of that as well.
I was in that.
Yeah. So we worked on that prior to my first time stage managing monologues. I think Sandra reached out to me a couple months later and asked me if I wanted to be a part of it. And I said, hell yeah, I do. So the rest is history, really.
So looking back to the first year that each of you did it, what was your first time like? What was it like?
My first time. Awkward, no.
What a question.
Wait a minute. That's
kind of fumbly. Didn't quite know what to do with my hands.
My first time with the monologues basically was behind the scenes. So getting to see it from the back behind the scenes, I was a little jealous, honestly, that everybody kind of got to go up and do that and bring these monologues to life. And the first time on stage was at the actual performance was pretty crazy, because I kind of went up and performed right after a very heartfelt and emotional Vagina Warriors
acceptance speech,
I guess. Acceptance speech. It was kind of a little bit of fuel, honestly, because that Coochie Snorcher, essentially, it does have a lot of comedic elements to it, but it does have a lot of deeper, a bit more darker themes in there as well. So I just wanted to do it justice,
You kind of pulled us all back in and made us laugh. And you realize it's like less about you and more about the whole show.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think that's one of the kind of the most magical things about the Vagina Monologues, is that each piece is part of the collective. And so if you're nervous, like the whole, and especially since we're all sitting on stage the whole time, the whole group is there for you.
Yeah.
What about you, Liz?
I was feeling overwhelmed at first because I hadn't performed in a long time. I get really shy around strangers. So it was kind of those pressures together. But Selena was in the cast with me, which made it a lot easier because she's awesome. And it's a little, just a bit. But it's a little comforting to have someone uh, there with you. It makes things a little bit more comfortable. But as it turns out, everyone was amazing as a person. Everyone was really supportive. And if someone had like a hard day or something we were talking about brought up something, it was a space that we knew was safe enough to talk about it and supportive enough to talk about it.
What surprised you the most about Vagina Monologues and like being in that group?
Basically, when I think back on it, the thing that surprised me the most was how comfortable and open the group of women that we got to perform with really was. I was really someone growing up who didn't have a lot of friends who were girls. To go from that to a really big group of women, I mean, who were supportive, and I felt comfortable with them. I mean, like I've said, I've told you guys things I haven't even said to my own family. So that was one thing that really surprised me, because I'm usually pretty closed off, predominantly because of a lot of relationships I had when I was in school and high school and those types of things. So it really comes back to feeling that I could trust that group of women to say things and talk about things that I really wouldn't talk to with anyone else about, was probably the most surprising of how open I wanted to be, as opposed to feeling forced to say things or anything like that. I really wanted to share with you guys. You were sharing with me.
Like Selena, because I steal her answers, even if they are true. It was how welcoming and supportive and open everyone was with what they shared. That really surprised me. Although looking back, it shouldn't have surprised me, because the Vagina Monologues are, they really kind of bring that out in people, I think. And if it wasn't such a welcoming and supportive environment, I don't think it would work. Because the monologues, a lot of them are really emotional, and you have to be in that kind of a space where you can access those kinds of emotions that make you feel really vulnerable. And it was easy to with everybody because they were so supportive. And it was really surprising to hear some people share what they've experienced. Because, we've all been through a lot in life, and sometimes you don't meet people who have been through similar experiences, but then when you do, it's kind of like, oh God, I mean, that other people experience similar things, but when you speak to somebody who does, it makes it real, or at least I found it made it real. And it was a way to feel like I wasn't the only one who had experienced a thing, even though I know in my brain that I wasn't, but it makes you feel less by yourself, less alone.
Since we are doing a different style this year, what is something that you are going to miss about Vagina Monologues?
I'm going to miss seeing people. I'm a really big introvert and a really big homebody, but the Vagina Monologues was something that I went out of my way to make sure, even though I was only in it 2 years, that I went out and participated in. So it was good to have that face-to-face connection with people. And everyone was so nice. And sometimes we would have group hugs. And we all could use some more hugs in these pandemic times. Like, seriously. Yeah, I miss people. I miss seeing them. I miss seeing you guys. I really miss Selena. Yeah, the connection with other people for sure.
What do I miss?
Me.
Liz, I mean, obviously. I miss people. I really do. Again, for someone, I guess going back to growing up, I was kind of an extrovert that was kind of forced to be an introvert because I didn't have anyone to relate to. So to get to this point where I've just kind of grown a bit more introverted the older I get, to have somewhere to go that is so warm and supportive, having something like this to push myself to go and be a part of, even if it is for 2 months out of the year, with rehearsals and staging and all that all together, and hanging out with you guys is definitely great. And just on a completely unrelated note to that, I really miss being on stage, to be quite honest, too, like performing for people. And that is one thing that I really didn't get much of a chance to do. So having that opportunity to be in the Vagina Monologues, to have that taste of that aspect of it, I really love being on stage. So to get that opportunity, I really do miss that as well.
I've seen both of you do some pretty amazing things on stage. Like Selena, like you mentioned, going up after that incredibly emotional speech, and you were like so strong, and I was just watching you being like, how is she doing this?
And shutting down my brain and just letting it go, man.
And watching Liz, you doing Coochie Snorcher, your first monologue, and the first applause that you got, I remember seeing your face and you were like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing it. Like you got that little applause and that little bit of confidence, and it was so nice to see.
It was great.
Yeah,
it really is. Oh, I'm feeling emotions now.
Me too. Super happy to have been able to talk to you both today. Super happy that the Vagina Monologues brought us together.
Yes, vaginas bringing people together,
creating people.
Yes.
And yep, it's what they're there for. One of the many things that they do.
Anything else that you guys want to add, or anything else you wanted to say?
God, I hope this pandemic is over for next year. That's everybody's deepest desire, right?
Fingers, toes,
every available body part crossed.